Hello, my sweet friends. It's teacher Elena. This story is called Good Night, Magic Moon. Nibbles was gathering blackberries in the moonlight. Catch, Mummy, he called. Nibbles smiled proudly at his big pile of juicy blackberries. You've found a lovely big supper this evening, said Mummy. It was easy, replied Nibbles. It's almost as light as daytime. That's because there's a big, full, beautiful round moon tonight, said Mummy. On the next night, Nibbles and Mummy searched for acorns. The night was still bright, but the moon had changed shape just a little bit. The moon is kind of shrinking, said Nibbles. But then Mummy explained that the moon mice had begun their moon feast. They nibble away at the edge of the moon each night until it's all gone. And then it grows again until it's round and as bright as before. Each evening after that, the moon grew thinner and the sky grew darker. Nibbles found sunflower seeds under the 3/4 moon, rose hips under the half moon, hazelnuts under the quarter moon, and toadstools under the thin curve of the crescent moon. Then one night there was no moon at all. The moon is all gone, gasped Nibbles. Don't worry, said Mummy. The moon mice always leave a tiny edge, too small for us to see. Then they sprinkle it with stardust so the moon can grow again. It was so dark that Nibbles and Mummy had to use their noses to find their supper instead of their eyes. Nibbles sniffed the air. I smell something, he said. Something very nice. Mummy and Nibbles followed the delicious smell across the field. It looks like the moon fell down from the sky and onto our picnic blanket, said Nibbles. Why, so it does, agreed Mummy. But this can't be the moon. It's cheese, the biggest, roundest, most moon-like cheese I've ever seen. You are clever, Nibbles. We can eat it all up, giggled Nibbles. A whole moon cheese just for us. I wonder how that cheese got there. Just then, an elder mouse came along. What a marvelous cheese, she exclaimed. Hello, Miss Elder Mouse, said Mummy. Isn't it fine? Nibbles found it. Mrs. Elder Mouse smiled kindly at Nibbles. Well done, little mouse, she said. I hope you enjoy your special supper. Nibbles watched Mrs. Elder Mouse hobble away. She looked very tired and hungry. Nibbles looked at his cheese, and then he looked back at Mrs. Elder Mouse. Then he took a deep breath and called out, Would you like some? It's big enough to share. Mummy broke the cheese up into 3 pieces, and Nibbles handed Mrs. Elder Mouse a piece to take home. Thank you, Nibbles, she said, taking a bite. It's delicious. Nibbles and Mummy ate their cheese as they walked back to the nest. It was very kind of you to share our cheese, Nibbles, said Mummy. I'm so proud of you. And if the moon mice were watching, they would be proud of you too. Nibbles happily nibbled his cheese until only a thin, curved edge was left. He held it up to the starry sky, and they followed the moon shape all the way home. Back at the nest, Nibbles tumbled inside with a yawn. Time for bed, sleepyhead, smiled Mummy. She tucked him in and began a bedtime story. Once there was a mouse, said Mummy, who found a round cheese just like yours. He was a very good little mouse, just like you. He shared his cheese with all the other mice, and only a tiny bit was left. The moon mice looked down from the sky and saw what a good mouse he was. So while he slept, they sprinkled stardust on his last little bit of cheese. And when the mouse woke up, that tiny little bit was whole again, as big and round as before, and as magic as the moon. Nibble smiled sleepily. I shared too, didn't I? He said. You did, agreed Mummy. You're a very good little mouse. Is my cheese magic like the moon? Asked Nibbles. Maybe, smiled Mummy. Let's hope the moon mice are watching. Good night, little Nibbles. Good night, Mummy, said Nibbles. And good night, Magic Moon. Then before he closed his eyes, he put the last little bit of cheese down carefully beside his bed, just in case. The end. Very nice. My friends, I remember when you and I were learning all about the moon, we brought up that people used to say the moon was made of cheese. But now that we have scientific discoveries, we know that the moon is not made of cheese. So I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know that the moon is not made of cheese, but it's still really fun to pretend. All right, my friends, I'm sending you a big cheesy hug. Goodbye, my sweet little mice. Oh, I'm going to send you a cheesy kiss too. Did you catch it? Goodbye, my sweet ones.